Hey everybody, welcome back to The Reason We Learn. I'm Deb Fellman, mom, homeschooler, educator. Today I'm going to talk about optimism and pessimism and how our kids are essentially being taught pessimism. And I know the other day I talked about verbal abuse, and now I want to talk more about the sort of worldview, philosophy, mindset that is dominating in education today, and that is pessimism. It's also dominating in politics, pretty much every aspect of our lives. And I'm going to get into that in a second and give you examples to illustrate the point. But first, I want to make a plug for this channel. I am trying to grow this channel. I want to be seen by as many people who need this information as possible. It's not just about my own self-aggrandizement here. I am doing this for a reason. I want to get parents involved. I want them to take this information and be able to translate it into action on behalf of their kids, whether that means going to their school and demanding to see curriculum and getting involved, or forming a group of people to do that, or running for school board, or challenging the school board that exists to give them more information and do more for them, whether it's getting together to contact their members of Congress or their local, their local government and demand that the schools open, or give them more school choice, whatever it is, whatever this inspires people to do on behalf of their kids to get them away from things I genuinely believe are hurting our children and likewise hurting our country and thus all of us. That's what I'm here to do. But in order to do that, I need to be seen by more people. I need to get the word out. And that means I need to grow the channel. So the way you can help is you can comment on this or any other video. You can share my videos. All of this feeds the algorithm. You can subscribe to this channel. You can share the videos out any place you want. All of it helps. So thank you in advance. So now let's get into this. As you see, I have a tweet from Chris Rufo, one of our favorites here. And I'm going to read, there's actually two tweets from the same thread, and then I'm going to show you a graphic, and it'll all make sense. Trust me. He says, progressivism has become a form of pessimism. Abolish grades so everyone is smart, defund the police so everyone is innocent, eliminate the meritocracy so everyone is chosen. Rather than raise standards, progress, they want to lower them, equity. So the point being, the only way we can make sure that everyone arrives at the same place, and that's equity, equal outcomes. The only way we can do that is always to cater to the lowest. There's no other way, because if you cater to the highest or even to the mean, you're going to have people who fall below, and you will not have equal outcomes. The only way to have equal outcomes is to go to the lowest. You can, hold people back. It's really hard, especially if there's anything to do with choice and motivation in there. It's hard to get everybody to achieve at the same level. So if you set equity and equal outcomes as your highest value, you're going to end up with no choice but to hold people back. That's very pessimistic. Whether the people pushing this believe this or not, I do not know. I don't want to get inside the minds of other people and say they're well-intentioned or they're not well-intentioned. I think there's probably equal measures of both, if I had to guess, but I can't prove it. So let's just say it's a bad idea, whether they intend it or not, because it is teaching children. This is teaching this idea that equity is important and we need to make sure of equal outcomes is the same thing. It is literally the same thing as teaching children somebody else has to act on your behalf in order for you to be successful. Even if we accept that opportunities are not evenly distributed, even if we accept that people are born into situations where they're automatically a little farther ahead in certain respects, whether it's financially or in terms of their health or their intelligence or their looks, even their skills. Like, not everyone's good at basketball, not everyone's 6.5 feet tall. So, there's certain differences that are just by accident. So even if that's the case, that might be one or two or several things out of literally thousands that make up a life, a successful life. And so even if that's true, telling them someone else has to intercede on your behalf in order for you to be successful is very pessimistic. And when you tell a young child that, it does two things. It creates a disincentive on their part to overcome difficulties when they naturally encounter them in school. So when you're learning to read, learning to write, learning to do math, there are going to be hurdles. It might even be easy for a while and then, oh, it's really hard now. That's when you have to push through. That's when you have to believe you can get to the other side. If you don't believe that, if you're told there's a reason it's hard for you and it's racism, or there's a reason it's hard for you when that smart, gifted person is skewing everything. Whatever the reason you're given, that it's outside of you. We've talked about this on the channel, external locus of control. That's very pessimistic. That's telling someone you're stuck. You're going to go a certain distance, and then when you get stuck, you're going to need outside help. Someone's going to have to come along and help you out. All right. Now, there's a second tweet from him I'm going to share at the end, because I think it makes some nice bookends to what I'm about to talk about. So the next thing I want to show you is a graphic that perfectly captures this mindset. This graphic appeared in a locals group I'm a part of, and Carlin Borsenko's locals group. I highly recommend you join, by the way. It's fantastic. Or join mine. I mean, mine isn't as big as hers, but we talk education. She talks a little bit of everything. So this graphic was posted by somebody who saw it at work. I believe they work for the government. So this was within government. Now, I know for a fact these same graphics are used in schools. They might not be identical to this one, but of a sort. They're the same theme, the same concept, okay? And you've probably seen the equity graphic with the kids trying to watch the baseball game, similar to that. This one takes it a step farther. Let's take a look at this graphic. So here it is. You see what is essentially the giving tree. I mean, it's bizarre. It's kind of the giving tree with the same little boy, or that's what it looks like, the same illustrator. And the purpose of this, apparently, from what I can gather, they want to explain the meanings of these words to you. That inequality, unequal access to opportunities. Equality, evenly distributed tools and assistance. So they both have a ladder and they both have a bag standing next to the same tree, okay? And notice how it says distributed. Implicit in the word distributed is given by. Given by. Not, they didn't build it. They didn't find it. They didn't, go buy it. No, it was distributed. That means it was somewhere, and then a third party came in and said, here you go, ladders. Equity, custom tools that identify and address inequality. A little vague on the language. I can't be so certain they're referring to a third party, but they do say that identify and address inequality. It's still very passive. Notice one has a tall ladder to go to one side of the tree where there's fewer apples, which is sort of strange. And the other one has a shorter ladder to the shorter side of the tree. But okay, let's keep going. Justice, fixing the system to offer, again, with the outside of you, to offer someone. Who's the someone? Is there like an imaginary friend in the sky? God? No, government, right? Government. Equal access to both tools and opportunities. So now we have to alter the environment. We have to alter the tree to suit the person on the right. What do you notice about this graphic right away? Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what I noticed. I got a little heat for this in the community because I had such a visceral negative reaction to it. And I got some feedback that it seemed to indicate that I was reflecting how I might speak to people who put this up on the wall. Now, I doubt in a work setting I would explain my feelings as I did in the locals group, because I used some not nice words. But I think there's a difference between trying to approach people to explain my problem with this, as I'm doing now, calmly and rationally, and having an initial reaction to it. I can tell you both. My initial reaction was, this is completely FUBAR. And it is in so many ways. And my reasoning for that is that it puts this little guy with the question mark in this passive, helpless, apples fall to me. The guy on the left looks more like he's, oh, look, apple's falling. I'm going to catch it. Okay. So, he's there at the right time. The apple falls. And you can say, well, that's his luck. Okay. Maybe it is. But my first question is, why doesn't dude over here think, oh, check it, lots of apples over there. What if I walk over to that side? Maybe an apple will fall down to me too, because there are a lot of apples. Maybe I could even shake the tree a little bit, help one along. Maybe I could climb the tree, whatever. No, just, where's the apple? Okay, we go over to equality land. Now, some imaginary friend has distributed a ladder to each person. Now, guy who had the apple fall to him wasn't even given a chance to think about what he might do differently, to get more apples. But here's a ladder. Okay, I'm going to climb up. Here's apples low. I'm going to pick. It's pretty obvious, right? Two things wrong here. This presupposes, it's sort of ironic. It has a lot of optimism about the person who has this, tool given to them, like the tool in all the right circumstances. If you were already on the right side of the tree, if you will, you're automatically going to use the tool to do the smart thing and grab those apples. But let's take this metaphor into the real world. Let's say a little boy on the left is, a privileged kid, economically privileged, born with everything. Mom and dad give him access to all the things, the tutors, the classes, the great schools, whatever. And he's so accustomed to having everything go, here you go, here you go, here you go. It's all here for you. That he's just like, and parents have money, so he doesn't even perceive needs. He's just like, whatever. And he looks at the ladder and he says, I'm not going to climb up there. It's hard. I'm just going to wait for apples to fall, or maybe like mom and dad will buy me some. So this has a lot of optimism that person who was like right place, right time, had the unequal access to begin with, is always going to maximize those opportunities. That is simply not correct. It happens a fair amount, but it also doesn't happen a fair amount. There are plenty of kids born with all kinds of opportunities at their fingertips who do not maximize them, do not use them. I could tell you stories, okay? I came from that world. I grew up with people like that. I saw a lot of things that might shock you about how people threw away opportunities with both hands. It's not a guarantee. So that's the first thing. Then dude over here, he climbs up to the ladder. Like at no point does he look at is this the best place for me to be after having been given this distributed this opportunity? No, he's still on the wrong side of the damn tree. When is he going to think about going over to the other side? Nope, doesn't. He's just like, eh. Then we go to equity. Custom tools. He gets a taller ladder. But he's still on the side of the tree with fewer apples. It's so pessimistic. It's like guy who started off with less is going to always, it's a persistent, it's called the snapshot fallacy. Where you are is where you're always going to be. And we have to constantly cater to that. That's very pessimistic. At no point does anyone who's drawing this think that maybe guy on the left is going to go and waste his opportunity, or a guy on the right is going to go, I've got a taller ladder than that dude. And there's a lot of apples over there. I'm going to take my taller ladder or I'm going to just take my existing ladder and go over to the side with lots of apples. This guy doesn't look harsh. He doesn't look like he's going to beat you up. But, you haven't even asked. Not that I see. He's not like, hey, can I come over there and pick next to you? Most people I know would be like, sure, come on over. I can't eat all of these. So that's not even happening. But he's still like, I've given the taller ladder, but I'm still picking from the wrong side of the tree. Very pessimistic. So we're not done yet. Now we need more help from our imaginary friends and wherever, probably, again, government, to come in and give us justice. Well, first of all, there's the perversion of the word justice. Justice, you can't just append justice to the end of everything and, magically have something worthwhile. Justice is not fixing a system. Justice is not saying, oh, things are not perfect for you where you have to make no effort at all to do anything or think or improvise or, innovate. No, somebody else is going to come in and make it right, as if there is a right. Okay. And by that, I mean altering the environment completely. And what I said in the group was, what if this apple tree were your company? Or your business, your small business even. And two people come to you and they want a job. And you give both of them the job. And one of them performs admirably, does everything they're hired to do. And the other one, doesn't. Keeps saying, well, nobody showed me, nobody taught me. I don't know what to do. Help me. I'm just, I'm not really clear. I just don't do things well. And it's not working. Okay. Now you have a few choices there. You could sit down and put together a growth plan for that employee. And if they show some willingness to learn, you might say, okay, well, give you a chance to adapt to my company. But at no point do you go, okay, I'll tell you what, you can come in and I'll just keep paying you. And you don't have, we're going to adapt the company to you. We're going to adapt them to your abilities and your needs. And you obviously are not really adept at getting here on time. And so you can start later than everybody else, because that's what changing the tree is. Changing the tree to meet the needs of the little boy who at no point in time thought to himself, maybe I should change where I am. And the irony of it all is you've probably seen it. You've probably seen the meme or the saying. I mean, it was told to me when I was a kid all the time. If you don't like where you're planted, if you don't like where you are, move. You are not a tree. That's the optimistic viewpoint. You are not a tree. If things are not working out where you are, if things are not working out the way you're doing them, move. You have reason. You have a brain. You have the ability to. And I'm not talking about people with disabilities, although they're just differently abled. Remember, they can do a lot. Do not underestimate people, okay? But we're talking about two equal people, it looks like. I mean, in the drawings. So thankfully, I didn't have to do it. Someone fixed this. Now, what did they do? Unequal access to opportunities. We start in the same place. Little boys going, I don't have it. Now what? Other options. Other options. This is what you get in an optimistic society where people have voluntary mutual exchange and a free market, capitalism, things that we're not teaching our kids anymore about how you can overcome your circumstances. You can make your circumstances work for you, not by demanding that some imaginary friend outside of you is going to come along and distribute customized tools. Also, by the way, customize, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And when government's doing it, that translates into lots of money, okay? Lots of money, high costs of customization. Instead, if you do it this way, initiative, take steps to improve your own life. Oh my gosh, what a concept. That requires optimism. It's not working for me now, but I bet it will if I do something differently. Optimism, innovation, improving your approach. You know what? Hey, let's work together. I bet if I go over here and I do this and with that, I'll go to this side of the tree and behind you. And entrepreneurship, of course. Secure a financial future. Let's work together. Let's go into business together. Let's harvest the apples. Let's sell the apples. We can't eat all the apples before they rot anyway. So let's sell them, make some money, plant some more apple trees, and so on. And now we're apple farmers. What we are not teaching our children is this kind of optimism. We're not teaching them how to survive in reality. Reality isn't an imaginary friend who's going to come along to every individual person that can't get there. They're not Santa Claus. They don't have a time machine and they don't have a magical device to know who's sleeping and awake and naughty and nice and who has needs and who doesn't. They being the government, they just don't have that. Not only that, there aren't enough people producing and willing to continue to produce and continue to use initiative and innovation and entrepreneurship to provide for all the people going, give me. After a while, they go, why am I doing this? Why am I innovating? Why am I doing this when they're just going to come and take and lay around? Like the first Pilgrim society they formed, the socialist one, where they said everyone will start equally, and they almost died of starvation. And then they said, no, you don't work, you don't eat. And guess what? They flourished. Well, guess what? All that we have, the computer, the phone, however you're watching me, the internet, whatever it is that you're using right now to access this video was brought to you by initiative, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That's how it was brought to you. It was not brought to you by government. Okay, the internet maybe initially. But what it is now, what it's become, not brought to you by government. It would never have grown. It would still just be the military would have it. The military would have it to talk about us, but we wouldn't have it to talk to each other if entrepreneurs and others hadn't taken initiative and said, hey, we can make use of that government who put in a lot of money to develop it. Now you're not really sure what else to do with it except use it for military purposes, which you don't really have a lot of all the time. Hey, can we use it? We can do some cool stuff. So now I want to get back to the second tweet that Chris had, because you hear a lot about people talking about the Constitution and, the government and where our country was founded and it's unequal and it's not fair and it was racist and all this other junk that you're hearing. And so that's what we're teaching our kids. We're not teaching them. And part of the reason we're doing that is that it then supports this graphic. It feeds the emotional response of not fair. It wasn't fair to begin with, and we need justice, and no justice, no peace. Come and distribute. We're going to redistribute and redistribute. Never dawns on them that things might run out or whatever. This might cause tyranny. This might cause a problem. But guess who knew? Guess who knew that this would be bad and this would result in this would result in the loss of freedom. It has to, by definition, because whoever has and whoever does is going to have it taken from them to give to the people with the unequal. So our founders knew we needed this. And what he says is the founders understood that there must be a balance of equalities and inequalities. They optimized for political equality, accepting that it would lead to inequality across other dimensions. They correctly had a tragic, not utopian view of history. So the irony is they had a pessimistic view of humankind in the sense that, when you left to our own devices, if we were given the right power over each other, bad things happen. Kind of like what's happening now. Marxism, communism, things like that. People want to take, they don't want to make. And so they put in place political equality to optimize our ability to fight that. And they had a lot of optimism that we could. So essentially, it was having faith in individuals, tons of faith in individuals endowed with political equality, political power that could not be reduced by others arbitrarily. You wouldn't have a king or, anybody would arbitrarily say, I'm in power over you, you do what I say. That wouldn't happen. The system they created was set up for that. And because they had a pessimistic view of what would happen if they didn't do that. Flip it around and you have the Marxists, who have a terribly pessimistic view of individuals. They will always do the wrong thing. Well, except, of course, people in government who apparently are holy and noble and perfectly virtuous all the time. But they will always do the wrong thing. They will always make the wrong choice. They are, there's only good people and evil people, and most people are evil. So therefore, it's perfectly justified to force them to do things they won't readily accept. And there's never reason telling them this is a bad idea. It's always their innate evilness. It's their white privilege. It's their classes, their attachment to their class, whatever it is. And it's fueled by envy. It's fueled by envy. You have something I don't, and I am envious of you. I want it. So I'm just going to take it. I'm going to come up with the grand rationalization to take it. And that rationalization essentially is the graphic that I showed you, not this good one, this one. So we're not teaching our children this, and we should be. Our kids are only learning the distribute equity model. So I'm very curious to get your reactions to this. Do you agree with me? Do you look at the original graphic and pretty much want to throw up and hope your kids aren't being taught this garbage or not? So let me know in the comments. And as always, please consider subscribing to my channel, share this video, like this video. That's the video.